You're so beautiful.
Hello and welcome to the core class. This is week 7 in review of the 7 Hermetic Principles. And I see we have Jacqueline with us today. Hey, Jacqueline, how are you?
I'm still here.
Good. Great. And we have Sophia from all the way from England who is testing out some new internet capabilities. You hear us? Sophia, you have to there you go.
I have to unmute. Yeah, so the new router works, but only if you're sat on top of it. There's absolutely no Wi-Fi at all. So yeah, it's a bit rubbish.
Well, I'm glad that you figured out a good connection because you have some really good insights for hermetics. And we've been having some really good conversations in the core class itself. So that's really good.
Yeah, we still have. Yeah. Really enjoyed catching up with the lessons.
In the chat room, we have somebody saying good evening back to you. Jacqueline, are you good with us reviewing your introductory essay today?
Sure, that's fine.
Great.
I tend to be an open book.
Cool. I'm going to start out. We're going to go through the 7, but I'm going to start out by these little videos that I put together. In part of the videos is part of my own research too. As I go through the 7 hermetics and refresh and also learn as well. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the introductory of where the 7 hermetic principles come from.
Many have sought to understand the natural laws that govern our universe. According to Hermes Trismegistus, there are 7. Trismegistus explains the foundational laws of our reality in his 7 hermetic principles. Here's what these principles are all about, and how we can all use them as a source of inspiration and empowerment for our lives and for our magics. The 7 principles are the foundation of Hermeticism, a branch of spiritual philosophy dating back as early as the 1st century A.D. They were outlined by famed author Hermes Trismegistus, who is believed to have written the Emerald Tablet and the Corpus Hermeticum, 2 highly influential ancient teachings. The best part of these ancient teachings is most of them are immutable, meaning they cannot be argued with. As wise ones, it is important we understand truths that are immutable. His work would go on to influence both ancient Greek and Egyptian cultures, with both adopting him as a god of wisdom. In Greece, he was called Hermes. In Egypt, Thoth. Over time, the 7 hermetic principles were passed down by word of mouth from teacher to student. And eventually, one day in the early 20th century, the teachings were compiled into a book called the Kybalion, written by the 3 initiates. Today, they remain an occult source of wisdom, separate from any real religion, but powerful nonetheless. And to be frank, modern contemporary witches, occultists, wizards, sorcerers, all of Earth's wise ones are trained with the same wisdom. Hence, if we are to get to the core of modern and historic witchcraft, this particular foundation is solid stone. Moreover, they cannot be argued. Or at least I would like to see someone try.
Yeah, so when it comes to the 7 hermetic principles, I really enjoy them personally because they can't be argued. There's no, well, at least I haven't seen anybody argue them yet. And as soon as I come in contact with somebody that does have some type of argument towards the hermetics, I would love to have them in the class to have a discussion. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. What do y'all think?
I certainly haven't come across anybody that argued against them either. So,
I particularly like the fact how the archetypical deity, almost as it seems, of Hermes is equivalent to that of Thoth. And I know that depending on who you talk to, some people will say that, well, Thoth was first, well, Hermes was first. So, but I guess that's not really that important. What's important is that it was documented in the 20th century, and that we have the 7 Hermetics, and they're open to the public. You no longer have to get them through the verbal traditions that once was, and I think that's really, really good for people who are really seeking, because initially the craft as a whole, or the path of the wise, as they say, is a seeker's path. It's not a path where, say, people say, come to us, come over here. It's supposed to be, the door is there. It's up to the person to come walk through it. I'm going to jump right into a review of the Hermetics. Hopefully it doesn't take too much time for the videos, but most of the videos are a lot shorter than the intro and the outro. This one's about 40 seconds with mentalism.
The principle of mentalism. All is mind. The universe is mental. The principle of mentalism states that the universe is akin to a mental projection, which is all about using your thoughts to shape your reality. For anything to be, a thought must precede it. Through this principle, it's believed that God and Goddess, or whatever belief system you have, is consciousness or thought, and the universe is a manifestation of the mind of God and Goddess. Using this law, we too can harness the power of our minds to create the life we want. Let us create our own reality. Benders of will we are.
So in the comment section, somebody had said Odin is the Norse equivalent to Hermes. And also in the comment section, did it start? Yes, we are here. We are the core class every Wednesday night at 6 and Sunday at 7. Somebody in the chat said, I would think that Vali was Norse equivalent to Odin. And whoops, Hermes. So yes, thank you for that. Yeah, mentalism. And precisely what we're supposed to be focusing on is bending the will, or having the intent, having that mentalism. And I mean, it seems like 101 to most, but maybe not, that when we talk about, having different tools, in the craft, your elemental weapons, your chalice, your athame, all of those things, they're important, and they act as extensions of your will. But really, all really is necessary is your mind, and that's clearly seen in the Hermetic principle of mentalism. Anything to add on that?
Well, I would slightly disagree with you.
Okay.
In that I would say that, yes, we're thinking beings, but we need the whole of ourselves present. We need our physical body present, which incorporates the mind. But we need our emotional self present. We need our gut instinct, intuition present. We need to be present as beings, not just the mind.
Okay. Somebody in the chat room says Odin has to go through a series of tests to obtain true wisdom. You're here. Hail Odin. And we have Mr. Sam Dickens. Thanks so much for coming on to the core class again.
Glad to be here. It was kind of hard to find my way.
Well, you definitely did. We were just talking about how the 7 principles of Hermeticism was first a verbal tradition, We talked about how in the 20th century it was documented in the Kabbalion. We were just reviewing mentalism. We got some videos that were showing that talk about the seven hermetics. And that's kind of where we're at.
I was reading the article about that.
Right. And you read the article. Do you have anything to add to the article?
Nothing in particular right now.
Okay. Great. So I'm going to move on to the Hermetic principle of vibration, which is another short clip.
The principle of vibration. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. Yes, believe it or not, the idea of vibes has been around a long, long time. The principle of vibration states that all things, both physical matter and spiritual energy, hold a certain vibration. Basic science tells us atoms are in constant motion, as is the universe itself. Even our hearts, as they beat, give off different vibrations depending on our emotional state. And when we're vibing high, we are able to avoid low-level frequencies that don't serve us.
See, I like the vibrations. There's a popular song in the United States, probably worldwide too, where it's like, please don't kill my vibe. Please don't kill my vibe. And it reminds me of that song, the principle of vibration. But the vibe is, I see the vibe as like for cats, for an example, people with like a higher frequency, it seems, is like animals are attracted to them. They'll jump right on them. They love them. They're drawn right to them. And we get vibes all the time where if somebody walks into a room, you just automatically want to avoid that person. Or what would be your idea of the principle of vibrations, Mr. Dickens?
I think it's got a physical explanation because the entire universe is made out of energy. Even matter is energy if you take it down to the basic particles, the basic quantum particles. Somewhere down there is a basic particle that's made of energy and nothing else. And then the other particles are made of those. They're the quantum building blocks of the universe. So we are all basically energy. If you take a look at an atom, you don't see anything. An atom is empty space. What happens that gives us our substance is actually energy that creates the electrical surface tension in the atoms as they're connected, and it doesn't allow light to penetrate. It reflects light, so therefore we have a solid surface. Not only does it reflect light, but it creates a surface tension that can't be penetrated. So all of matter is energy in essence. Now that explains vibration on a physical level. We each have our own energy fields around our bodies. Don Juan Matus described them as, what did he say? An illuminated egg or something. I forgot the term. I'm an old man. I can't think of the terms I need when I need them. But we all have these energy fields around our bodies. They're often equated with the auras. So we could definitely have vibrational effects that matter in those energy fields. And some of us may indeed have higher energy vibrations than others do. But now, if you get to the spiritual, even to the mental, you're going beyond energy, beyond the physical. I believe, anyhow. Do y'all believe that? Do you believe that the physical is something other than material, or do you think it's only one aspect of material?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I think yet. I'm still too early in my journey. I'm still making decisions and, or judgments or whatever. That's probably a bad word to use, but I know that I can communicate through the veil, and sometimes I see energy forms going around me, so I don't know if there's like multi-dimensional, or I don't know how it works yet. I'm still trying to get a feel for everything. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Well, we're talking about the vibrations. It reminds me of an old occult saying, and Sam, I know you've heard of it. Sophie, I know you probably have. Amber too. I'm not sure, Jacqueline. Is like attracts like. Mm-hmm. So the vibrations is like if you have a piano. Well, actually, if you have a violin and a piano, and the violin is playing a tune, and in the next room is the piano strings are going to start vibrating with the violin, and that's kind of like an in-your-face physical representation of like attracts like, and it certainly seems like it has a lot to do with vibration. So,
and to it, if you have the piano in the same room as the violin, and they're playing a tune together, where two instruments are designed to play in the piece, you will often get a harmonic resonance, shall we say, where the sounds of the two combine to create a higher sound. I'm talking art here, right? So we're talking about something more than just normal. It's when two sounds blend together and resonate properly, you get an extra little beauty from it. Mm-hmm. I used to always love singing in the choir, because when everybody's voices were blended perfectly, it was a spiritual event. Mm-hmm. It was a spiritual event. Those of you who have sung in choir may know what I'm talking about. But vibrations that resonate together in a proper way can be uplifting, to say the least.
Mm-hmm. And the analogy with the violin and the piano, I think we can use it as far as when somebody is a certain way, they're giving off that particular vibration. Their aura's, giving off that vibration. They're going to attract people with similar frequencies.
Yes.
And here's that old saying that everybody knows: a bird of a feather flocks together. And that's kind of, I think that ties right into the Hermetic principle of vibration.
Yes.
Somebody in the chat room said, all physical things are in fact just energy. It's only our pre-programming of our brains that makes it look physical. Does anybody have anything to add for the principle of vibration before I go into the polarity, Hermetic? Okay.
The principle of polarity. Everything is dual, everything has poles, everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature but different in degree. Extremes meet. All truths are but half-truths. All paradoxes may be reconciled.
The principle of polarity explains that seemingly opposite things are actually one and the same at varying degrees. A simple example of this is hot and cold. Cold is just the absence of heat, and they're both one thing temperature. Physical matter and spiritual energy are the same thing, with spiritual energy vibrating at a much higher level, such that it can't be perceived by our senses. Love and hate are two ways of experiencing the same thing, a relationship towards something. This is the foundation of alchemy, or the ability to transmute your experiences at will. A good symbol to explain this immutable truth is the yin-yang symbol.
So polarity, and this is the biggest rabbit hole, I think, from my own path. It's the principle of polarity. That was the one where somebody asked the question similarly to, what's the polarity of yourself? And that was like, to me, sometimes I overcomplicate things. But at the conclusion, I think we are the polarity. And Mr. Davis, you had some good insight on that particular one, and I'd love to hear it again.
On polarity?
Yeah.
I study what I call the Essenian mysteries,
Okay.
and in my studies there are many polarities involved, many dualities and such. There is the duality of the realm of the mind and the realm of the seven worlds, which is this physical universe we talk about. And those two dualities combine to create manifest reality, which is all of our existence that we understand. So the dualities combine to create a synthesis, and then manifest reality is also a duality with primordial existence, which is beyond our experience. Primordial experience was at the beginning, at the dawn of time, and it's the source of all existence. It's what Lao Tzu called the eternal Tao, as compared to the Tao that can be named, which is consciousness. So you have existence and consciousness. And those two things, that's another duality, are one thing, different aspects of the same thing, which is reality, I guess you would say. But see, and I don't want to get too much into this. It needs explaining, and it needs more explaining than I can give here.
Right.
But there are these dualities in our existence. Shoot, I'm out of them right now. I'm an old man.
Well, one of the things that we were talking about in the threads, in the groups, especially with, I think Sophia was part of those conversations, is that, which Hermetic laws intertwine with other ones, and do specific Hermetic laws relate better with each other than others? And one of the questions that I raised was that Hermes wrote the Hermetic principles in a specific order, 1 through 7, and it makes me question, well, was that order written for a reason? Does that mean that the principle of mentalism was more important than the rest of them for that particular order? So it's
more fundamental. Perhaps you have to understand the principle of mentalism before you can fully understand the other principles.
Hmm.
So perhaps it's just more fundamental.
Right.
I apologize. I'm having to eat my supper here because it came at 5:15, and it's going to get cold if I let it sit.
Oh, you're good, Mr. Dickens. Glad to have you here. So, in the principle of polarity, I feel like it has an association with the cause and effect, because one can't exist without the other, and like hot and cold, neither one of those can be hot or cold without the other. So it's both polarities make the whole.
Yeah.
It seems one cannot exist without the other. But that's definitely a rabbit hole. And Mr. Dickens, you're right. And I've heard this from other sources too, that these hermetic principles, you can spend many moons, many nights, many weeks, months going down the rabbit holes.
And benefit from it.
Right, and you definitely benefit from them.
The more you learn.
And why you benefit from them, I've found in my own discoveries, and I'm going to share that discovery with the class at the end and see how y'all feel about it too. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the Hermetic principle of rhythm.
The principle of rhythm. Everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. Closely related to the principle of polarity, the fifth principle states that between the opposing poles, there exists an inherent rhythm. The tides move in and out. We inhale and exhale. Everything is in motion. Nature has its seasons, and so too do we. Understanding this principle allows us to recognize our lives and the universe's natural rhythms, so we can actually work with them rather than having them working against us.
Yeah, rhythms. I mean, best explained with the seasons, the wheel of the year, the moon phases, life itself with birth, your life, and your death, and then the cycles of reincarnations that so many of us pagans wholeheartedly believe in. So it's just one of those hermetic immutable truths that just is. And there's rhythms and cycles that happens in our lifetime too. Birthdays. I've always been a firm believer that during somebody's solar return, their birthday, that during that part, they come into a bit more empowerment for some reason. They get a bit more lucky. I've always thought that. Not sure if there's any science to that, but Mr. Dickens, you're shaking your head, so you must. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I've noticed with birthdays, you can have one or two of them and you're just fine, but after a while it becomes habitual and you start having more of them. I'm joking, of course. But yeah, I noticed on that the thing that you played there that it was talking about rhythms. I was thinking about the moon as a natural rhythm, and that by following the phases of the moon, we are learning that life has a rhythm to it. But it also got into rhythm has sort of a frequency too, and some rhythms are faster or longer or shorter than other rhythms in life, and the interplay of the links of those rhythms, how they work together, like when you combine the phases of the moon with the seasons of the year and the interplay between them, that's a certain rhythm too. Very interesting. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Rhythms are an important part of magical work. It's too, like, if you're doing increasive or decreasive, magics, a lot of times you'll go in rhythm with the moon cycles. So anything that is, because we want to go with the natural rhythms and tides, and I think that's very important. And I think that's a direct example of some of the magical techniques that have been documented all over the place that were taken right from that particular Hermetic principle. I'm going to move into I like this one a lot. The Hermetic principle of cause and effect. I really enjoy this one.
The principle of cause and effect. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law. Everything is connected through the principle of cause and effect. For each cause of one thing is merely the effect of something else, going back to the very beginning. Ask yourself, are you a cause? Or are you an effect? This principle is all about acknowledging the effects of our thoughts and behavior, and how we may change them to bring about greater effects.
Yeah, I really enjoy the Hermetic of cause and effect, because I think it plays into a lot of intent, and it made me analyze, am I a cause person or am I an effect person? I think that it is best for individuals who live a magical life to, I feel like it's better if they try to be cause people and not affect people, because ultimately we're trying to unlock our own spirituality. So if we're trying to unlock our own spirituality, why are we following other people's spirituality? So yeah, core class people were cause people. And I don't know if I'll get any whiplash from that, but it sounds good at the moment.
Yeah.
Anybody, anything to add to the Hermetic of the cause and effect? Moving along to gender.
The principle of gender. Gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes. The seventh principle states that all things have masculine and feminine qualities. Yes, the two sexes can be thought of as a physical manifestation of this principle. But as we're all coming to understand, on an internal level, all of us hold both energies. Think the left and right brain. Masculine and feminine energy exists in not only the physical plane, but the mental and spiritual plane as well. The unity of these two energies is essential for creation, and when one has a balance of both, they're better able to apply all of the principles together for maximum benefit.
Once again, it's like a reflection. It's like it's a polarity, You can't have one without the other. And then also, when we went through the Hermetic principle of gender, we went through that even if you're physically a man, you still have attributes that are feminine without even realizing or knowing it. And one of the examples was every time I pick up the cat at the house and love it and give it food and pet it, that's a feminine action, nurturing and stuff like that. So that was a good learning curve. Something going on in the comment section. We are all both cause and effect people. I still cannot figure out how to be on camera to like U4R, but at least you can see my comments now, so it's improving. Very well, we'll figure it out, and I'll check that out after class. Check that out after class. Um, moving on to correspondence.
The principle of correspondence. As above, so below. As below, so above. We've all heard this quote before, but maybe you never knew it was Hermes who first coined it. It's closely related to the first principle of mentalism and states that what we hold in our thoughts and mind will become our reality. It explains the many planes of existence, including those of lower and higher vibrational frequencies, and how they're connected.
Above and below, we hear it a lot. We hear it a lot, and it's always. I love all the Hermetics like go in and out of each other because you can think about one in comparison to another, and if you do it enough, it'll start making you a little nuts. Start getting you a little. It opens you up too, and there's lots of rabbit holes in it. Before I get into the outro video that I had prepared for class today, this one I really like your feedback on because it's something that I've found to be true. So I'll go ahead and play that.
The craft is known to have been influenced by the Golden Dawn and its various Hermetic aspects. Even Gerald B. Gardner, father of modern-day Wicca, once said traditional Wiccan rituals were created and influenced by the Golden Dawn and Freemasonry. Some traditions of witchcraft cast a sacred space between the worlds. The Watchtower ritual, invoking pentagrams, banishing ones. These aspects, as well as the tools, or the elemental weapons as they were called, were taken directly from the Golden Dawn magical tradition. Let us remember that the idea of Hermetic schools had a profound esoteric influence in the modern witchcraft revival. If this is the core of what contemporary witchcraft is, let's just get right to the core and start getting our magical information right from the source. I have interviewed several pioneers and elders within the craft on the world stage, and one specific interview comes to mind. It was with a very wise practitioner of magic. She was coined the Witch Queen of New York. A very wise individual, to say the least. When I asked her advice on witchcraft, she told me the key was in Hermetics. And do you know what? She was right. All hail, Hermes Trismegistus. May the wisdom of Thoth come to us all.
Yeah, so, Mr. Dickens, you think that has some truth to it? With a lot of the modern contemporary witchcraft was taken directly right from Hermetics, the Golden Dawn, from Freemasonry?
Yeah, you always hear that Gerald Gardner was very much influenced by the ceremonial magic organizations like the Golden Dawn and such, and that he borrowed a lot of that for Wicca. A lot of their ceremonies are taken from the Golden Dawn, Selima and such. And I think we do owe a lot to Hermes Trismegistus too. His writings, I wasn't even familiar with the 7 principles.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't read about those. I had just read about that which is above is like that which is below, and that which is below is like that which is above. I even learned the Latin for that.
What is it in Latin?
It is quod superius est sicut quod inferius, quod inferius est sicut quod superius ad perpetranda miracula rei unius, which means to the glory of the one thing, or something like that. I'm not sure.
So thanks for that, Mr. Dickens. Certainly.
It's me in real good with someone who was a Rosicrucian.
Hmm.
I ran into somebody in Canada, and I just kind of said that in response to something he said, and he recognized it immediately because he was a Rosicrucian, and they study Hermes too very much.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I think a lot of his.
Yeah, the Golden Dawn magical tradition has direct Rosicrucian roots to it.
Yeah,
So it's just very interesting that the way that everything manifested or happened, and we have this modern contemporary craft or witchcraft. It's coming right from the Hermetics, and so I think that if we're going to get to the core, I think that's a good place to start. Does anybody have anything to add to today's class? And thank you guys so much for being here. It's a great class.
you got to figure if something is true, it was probably true in the time of our grandparents and true in the time of our most ancient parents, thousands of years ago. What is true throughout time. That's what you were saying earlier, that the immutable truths cannot change, and it's very hard to argue against them. The simple, basic truths of reality.
That being said, I got nothing else for class. I hope everyone has a great rest of the week. I'll see you on Sunday at 7, and blessings to all.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye, all.
Bye.